But I want to start with this LSU football game. Arkansas Tigers. Arkansas hasn't taken back the boot since 2015. And I think your colleague, Wally Hall, asked the question, what LSU team is going to show up? They've been so inconsistent up and down all season long. Tom, what LSU team are you expecting to show up Saturday at 6:30 in Death Valley?
Well, I would say I'm expecting a competitive team that feels like they can. They know last year they ran the ball on Arkansas and kind of controlled the clock with that. And when you think of the game, there was a lot of third down and shorts that they converted. And, yeah, it was a tough game. It was a tight game. And after Jalen Catalon was ejected for what I thought was a very questionable targeting penalty, LSU went down and scored the winning touchdown. You know that they got really, really up for last week. And the blitz schemes they threw at Alabama worked against the run, and they sacked Bryce Young 4 times. And they were really up for that game. And so I do wonder if they can match that intensity, but I still think it's going to be a pretty close game. LSU's lost a ton of personnel off this team, which levels the playing field a little bit.
Yeah, Tommy, talk about personnel. They just lost Jason Hines, Anthony Bradford. They're out for the season. And apparently Ed Ingram, another one of their offensive linemen, is going to be out at least a week. And based on how putrid they've been running the ball, which is so uncharacteristic for an LSU football team, I would think Arkansas defense has a chance to have some success on Saturday, right?
Well, I think they will scheme up to stop the run and then hope that they can match routes against Max Johnson and Garrett Nussmeier, which is going to be a weird deal. LSU, it could work out beautifully in their favor that they're productive at quarterback, but it seems to me that you talk to Dunner and the family agrees we don't worry about burning Garrett Nussmeier's redshirt year. Okay, well it could lead to a little bit of a chaotic, uneven type performance. That's the great thing or weird thing about LSU game. You know what is going to show up. You know what's going to happen. You know what the crowd's going to do. Mm-hmm. I think it would behoove Arkansas to get on top early, maybe get the crowd mad at their team. But yes, if they can stop the run, I think that's a huge feather in their cap in terms of trying to get a win out of this game. And but Davis Price ran for 100 on them last year, so it won't be easy.
Only thing we know for sure about the crowd in Baton Rouge is they'll be drunk. That's about the only guarantee we got on that deal. Talking about health, I mean, coming off the bye week, everybody was kind of patched up and ready to go for this 4-game stretch. I know Sam's talked about it this week. Tom, it looks like, unlike last year where we're talking about COVID issues and Arkansas being shorthanded, from a health standpoint and personnel standpoint, you seem to be in good shape going into this one.
Yeah, I mean, other than the ones that we knew about, they might not have Jalen St. John, who's got a wrist situation, a backup lineman, but, otherwise, yeah, I think they've grown into their roles a little since the loss of Catalon. They're obviously not as strong as they would be because then Slusher would be able to give you quality time off the bench. But, I think he's improving. They gave up some plays down some pockets in the zone last week, particularly in the 2-minute, but a few other points in the game as well. But, they weren't catastrophic. And so I don't think LSU has near the type of pass scheme or that type of thing. So decent shape, and I think they're going to put a lot on their offensive line in this game. Like, you guys are veterans. Let's go out and let's go run the ball. And even though LSU's a decent run defense, let's go out and run the ball on this team and take control of this game.
Yeah, we talked about this, touched on it briefly earlier this week. We was talking about with Clay on Tuesday. The uneasiness I have about this game is how does Arkansas's line deal with particularly the defensive tackles? You look at Farrell and Roy, and inside they've got some grown men and 4-year lettermen, seniors. These are experienced players. Now, Arkansas's got some experienced players, but Tom, how do you think that matchup goes? Because to me, that's the key to the game is whether or not Arkansas can run the football, because if they're forced to throw, that's never a great situation more often than not. How do you handle the run, and particularly the A and B gaps when LSU seemingly is so well stacked there inside defensively?
Well, they're not going to give up what they do, which is, their run pass and stuff, and they're not going to shy away from trying the A gaps. And so, it's just a matter of Ricky Stromberg versus Earl.
Yeah.
And they've got another good defense. Or a strength of Ville and right now, but linebackers. And so strength is kind of up middle. And so it's all with inside gaps, but they'll also go on the edge. And last week was coming off the bye. They looked fresher. They had some things up their cap, like the Traylon Burks run out of the Wild Hog was a great run. He got some good blocks, a pair of hands, and to exploit their weapons in the game and work the edges as well. Sounds and fourth down, but if you look at their overall offensive numbers, they're ranked in the teens in total offense. They're ranked fourth, I believe, or fifth in rushing in the country, and their pass efficiency team. So that's a really strong formula for an offense that, 2 years ago they were the dregs of FBS almost with how pitiful they were on offense.
Yeah. Damone Clark, I think, is the other linebacker you're thinking of, and Glenn Logan's another one of those guys on the front line who's a grown man, a 4-year letterman as well. So it's going to be a challenge this week for the guys up front. But I'll be interested to see how, because I think that will go on Saturday night.
Yeah, and thanks for helping me with Damone Clark. Yeah, he's a really good one. I mean, he's got more than 100 tackles. I think 107. I'm going to pull his next, and I think he's got 87. So it's like a 20 tackle gap or so between those two. And let's don't forget Jay Ward. He's still there and play in the very end of the game last year. He broke up a little swing pass that was on third down that I think Felipe Franks was throwing it for Traylon Smith and didn't get a lot of air under it, and it got batted down by Jay Ward, and then he blocked the field goal. So he's had some success against the Razorbacks. I know LSU is going to be motivated, but I have a feeling that Sam Pittman and this crew really, really wants to bring that boot back home.
Man, they haven't had it since 2015. That's a kind of conversation that we've had, Tom, is this game means more to Arkansas. It means more to the fans. It means more to the coaches. It means more to the players. And I know that Ed Orgeron, the players down there, could that be a motivating factor that could push Arkansas over the top, that this game means a lot more to the Razorbacks than it does the Tigers?
Well, it could. I mean, you still have to go out and execute. But I do think it means more to them. But I just never count LSU out, because think about the real, dumpy performances they've had against Arkansas. I would say in 2014 they did not like the weather up here, the shutout game. But and then the next year they didn't play well. But they came here in 2016, and Arkansas was number 25, just like they are right now in the CFP rankings. And they put a spanking on them, 38-10, and Derek Geis went berserk in that game. He had a 90-something yard touchdown. So LSU has shown it can get way up the Razorbacks as well. So I'm anticipating them playing hard. Ed Orgeron says that they'll keep fighting till the very end. They had a fake punt against Alabama last week. I don't doubt that they've got super special stuff lined up in the kicking game and in this game as well.
Tom, we were discussing this a little bit earlier. Defensive-wise, Georgia is as good as teams have been in quite some time, whether it's recent or maybe you got to go back a little bit in your head. But where does this Georgia defense compare to either some of the college defenses or even, if you want to go, NFL defenses that you've seen in your lifetime?
I'll just stick with college, because I'm not going to compare the best college line to great NFL lines. Alabama in 92 had a fantastic Copeland and Curry D-line, obviously national championship. When I covered Bama, that was kind of the revered defensive unit. This Georgia one stacks up and might wind up being thought of in even stronger terms. And I heard y'all leading into me with the Tennessee game. This is a super strong challenge for Georgia, that Tennessee is a quick strike team. They had the ball like 14 or 15 minutes against Kentucky last week and scored 48 or whatever they scored. Is a phenomenal amount of points for the possession time. And maybe the biggest challenge that Georgia's going to face until they get into the playoffs, and it's on the road. So I think all the college, they run a up-tempo offense. It's hard to defend everything they do, and they've got a veteran in Hooker running the show. So this should be a game.
Tom, we appreciate your time, man. Thanks for giving us some insight on the LSU Tigers, and we'll recap it on Monday.
Awesome.
We're back and better than ever. A new web interface to start the basketball season and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all basketball and football action this season. Head to the new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE50 to receive your bonus. That's BLEAV 50 to receive your bonus. From basketball, football, and baseball postseason, NHL, boxing, and UFC, right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.